Hi everyone. This lecture is going to be about bandhas. And bandhas are energy locks that we utilize within the body to help control the flow of prana. And prana, which I'll get into a little bit deeper when we talk about chakras, but it's our life force, it's our life energy. And I've talked about that in a couple of the videos, a couple of the lectures. We get our life force from everything that we absorb into our body. So everything we put into our body, our food, the air we breathe, the environment that we are in, it resides within us. So we have this oneness with all of creation, with all of humanity, all of the world, all of the animals, the plants, and this everything. So bandhas, it's spelled Bandhas, bandhas, and there are 4 of them. We basically we're going to talk mostly about the 3, because the 4th one is a combination of all of them, of all 3. So it's the term for body locks or energy locks inside the body. Physically, I'll backtrack for a second. I made sure to have my notes out so I didn't forget anything, like I did with the mudras. The idea is to bind or bring back the dissipating energy or prana from the periphery and put it back in the center of the body to create a perfect union. Energy locks that connect and harmonize one's vital energy with the inner constellations, the outer constellations, and the universal eternal source of all energy. There is inherent potential energy in all things. Physically, it's the activation and engagement of muscle fibers in strategic areas of the body that support the toning and lifting of the systems. It helps to fend off the natural laws of gravity. Energetically, it's seeing the human body through the more subtle yogic point of view. Locks or valves in specific areas of the body, once engaged, can control and retain the dissipating prana energy, your vitality. The first lock activates or works in conjunction with your root chakra, and it's your root bandha, and it's called your Mula Bandha, M-U-L-A Bandha. It's the root lock. It's the idea of lifting the impurities that are trying to escape through our root back up into the fire, which is your solar plexus. It impacts your root chakra, like I said, and we'll talk about chakras in another video. It's the diamond-shaped hammock of muscles that spans the space between the bones of the pubis, your 2 ischium, your sits bones, and the coccyx, and it forms part of the pelvic floor. It should be held throughout the entire practice, which is not an easy task to do. And it helps to prevent fatigue. It helps to give you that, it helps with core strength and that root strength. It's going to help you to keep strong through the very lower portion of the body. It stimulates the pelvic nerves, the genital system, the endocrine system, and the excretory system. It has also been shown to help relieve constipation and depression. It alleviates tightness and tension and pain in the lower back, and it can help to counteract any future injuries. So the way that we cue the Mula Bandha, in ladies it's a Kegel. If you have ever practiced a Kegel exercise where you're squeezing the uterine wall and you're lifting up the pelvic floor, it's, men obviously don't know what a Kegel is or how to help strengthen your pelvic floor and to help with things. If you've had children, you understand how I pee my pants when I sneeze and do jumping jacks, jump on a trampoline. So all of those things that are in the lower portion of our body that we want to strengthen. So for men, and I asked Alexander how he would cue it or how he describes it. And the best way that he can describe it, and this goes for men or women, is if you have to pee, you're urinating because you have to go so badly, but you have to pinch it off midstream. And that activation to clench up and to stop that urine stream is going to be that mula bandha. It's activating all of those muscles that are involved in the mula bandha. So even though that's not a very excuse me, it's not a very I don't even know how to say it's kind of graphic, but it works because that is an everyday practical application to using those muscles that everybody has experienced at some point, where you really got to pee and you're trying to hold it and you're jumping around, where you have to pinch it off mid-flow. That's how you would activate your mula bandha. So it is, again, sending all those impurities that are impurities, but that prana, or your life force, is trying to leave your body from all these peripherals, and you want to pull it back into the center. We want to keep it homed here and housed in our body, and you kind of think of the idea of pulling it back up and in. And oh no, it literally means flying up. Where's my note? I got so many notes. It's you should see this when you can see this in person. It's ridiculous. I write all these different notes everywhere. It's your root lock. It contains the downward flow of prana, called the apana, so that it can be equalized with the upward flow of prana, the udana. All right. So again, you're lifting your pelvic floor. Just try to hold it throughout the entire practice if you can. Second, so we're starting from the bottom and we come up. The next one is your Uddiyana Bandha, and it is near the diaphragm, your solar plexus. I'm sorry, Mula Bandha is your root lock. The Uddiyana is your flying up. Sorry, I apologize. Backtrack. It's your abdominal lock. Prana is made to flow from the lower abdomen to the head and the throat, so we're pulling it back up. We want to hold that prana, any impurities, right there so they can burn in the fire, which is our solar plexus, like a little sun inside of our body. Solar plexus, I always think of it as like your battery, like in your car or in your phone. It's like your powerhouse. All right. So your Uddiyana Bandha, you want to try to engage it throughout practice, but it's a little bit harder. This impacts your third chakra, the fire chakra, your solar plexus, the Manipura or Manipura. Flying up or rising up, drawing the prana up and moving it to the head and throat. The diaphragm, stomach, and abdominal organs are all being affected by this engagement of the bandha. It's engaged at the bottom of an exhale, so you blow out, and then you pull everything up and in. And you can look up pictures. It's hard for me to do. I've got a baggy t-shirt on. But you can look up pictures online about the Uddiyana Bandha and how you can try to engage it. And there are some... I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. It passed. Some can engage really, really heavily. And they're very much toning and creating space for all these abdominal muscles and all these... your internal organs. For most people, it doesn't look that extreme, but some, you'll see their rib cage is very pronounced, and they're pulling everything up and in, and sometimes they're even hunched over a little bit. It tones and creates space for the abdominal organs, and the diaphragm draws upward underneath the rib cage. The toning increases the efficiency and productivity of the diaphragm and ensures that the state of energy, sorry, can't even read my own handwriting. It ensures that the stale energy and air is expelled, so it is forceful through the abdomen. And if you can just over and over and over again engage your abdominal wall, your abdominal muscles, and you're constantly starting to engage that Uddiyana Bandha, it's like giving yourself some sit-ups in a very kind of mild way, but it will tone those abdominal muscles. If you are constantly doing that, you can just kind of sit and do it over and over again. Every time I teach the bandhas, I sit with I do kegels, and I'm constantly clenching my abs and my entire front section. It stimulates digestive juices, thus increasing metabolism. It tones overworked abdominal organs. It balances the adrenal system. It helps to relieve stress, lethargy, and tension, and it tones your abdominal muscles. If you work on engaging your Uddiyana Bandha physically, it's going to help facilitate inversions, headstands, forearm stands, handstands. It's going to help to keep your body stable while you can use the strength of your leg or your core to pull your legs up. And it is very important for those inversions, but it also is going to help with core. It helps with your core strength, which is going to help with balance. It's going to help with ease of motion, just that transference of energy. And I talk about core strength a lot in my classes because as we age, we start to lose our sense of strength, or our, what's not a sense, but that physical strength. We start to lose our balance, and if we can keep a strong core and we can keep practicing that Uddiyana Bandha, it's going to help. You know, ladies get that dowager hump where they hunch over and they get that curvature of the upper spine. If we can try to keep the core strong and keep our posture nice and tall, keeping that, you know, the core engaged, then that will help prevent some of that curvature of the spine. Let's see, did I give you all the notes that I had? Wish I was better organized. All right. It should feel like you're pulling everything up and back. The waist will be tiny with ribs protruding. It's the, well, you know, in yoga practitioners, or not practitioners, but yoga experts will say that it's the ultimate remedy for abdominal and stomach ailments, from constipation to indigestion. It stimulates the digestive juices, thus increasing metabolism. Like I said, tones the abdominal organs. It balances the adrenal system, relieving stress, lethargy, and tension. And I said all those, so yeah, I covered all of my notes there. So first we would engage the Mula Bandha, and then it comes up into the Uddiyana Bandha, and next we're going to come up into the throat area. So throat chakra, the throat bandha. That's called your Jalahandra Bandha. It does, like I said, it impacts the fifth chakra, which is your Vishuddha, your throat chakra. It prevents prana from falling back into the fire. So once it's here, because we want all that energy to come up here, it prevents it from coming back down into the solar plexus. The throat lock that controls the flow of energy in the nerves and blood vessels of the neck, uses the muscles of the front of the neck, your sternocleidomastoids and the scalenes, draws the chin towards the lifted superior position of the sternum, stimulating the throat. It stimulates the thyroid, which is that butterfly-shaped endocrine gland in the front of your neck, in the front of your windpipe. One main physiological benefit of the stimulation of the thyroid, which it balances the regulation of hormones, of the hormones responsible for efficient metabolism. It's usually only used in pranayama, or in your pranayama practice when you are meditating, because you would not be able to move through the practice if you were actually, if you were using this throat lock, because it's just awkward and it's going to restrict your breathing a little bit. The only time really that we're going to use it, for the most part, is going to be when you're in bridge and your chin kind of comes down to your throat a little bit, and when you're in a plow or shoulder stand. So when you are shoulders are on the floor, your torso starts to lift up and you have your legs all the way up to the sky, or when your legs come all the way over the top of your head when you're in plow. So that's when that bandha will be useful in your physical practice. But when you're in those positions, you're in that stable position, you're not moving around. So controls prana in the nerves and the blood vessels. Said that. Compresses the sinuses on the main arteries of the neck and helps to regulate the circulatory system. Pressure on the throat helps balance the thyroid and metabolism, and I said that. So I always call this one the stinky cheese bandha, because the way that you activate it is you're still sitting up nice and tall, and imagine someone brought stinky cheese to your face, but you're up against a wall, so you can't back up physically, but you pull your chin in towards your chest and go. So you're pulling your chin in, you're pressing your chin down towards your chest, you're purposefully giving yourself all those lovely, double, triple chins that we have here. So you're pulling your chin back in towards your chest. So if we combined all of those three bandhas, then we want to be in this perfect lock that is called the Maha Bandha, and it's also the Great Bandha. So that would be engaging everything at once. And usually someone is sitting and they have their hands on their legs and they're already engaging their Mula Bandha. They exhale, engage the Uddiyana, and they bring the Maha Bandha in, or not the Maha, the Jalandhara Bandha. So they're sitting there and you can see their arms are pressed against their leg, they're a little bit curved over, their ribs are protruding, their belly is sucked in, their waist is really small, and they have everything engaged. So they're trying to prevent that energy from leaving the body, and they're getting all of those systems in the body fired up, and the prana is being protected from falling, from exiting the body. There are two other bandhas that we don't have to, there's nothing magical about engaging them. There's nothing you have to do specifically, but those are your hasta bandhas, your hands. So your hands are in connection to the floor and against something solid, and your pada bandha, your feet. So your feet are on the floor. So those are already activated most of the time. They don't. Your hands and your feet alone don't activate in specific chakra. Your chakra runs up from your root just to above your head. And we usually just talk about the ones that are up to the crown of the head, up here. So you have your Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha, Jalandhara Bandha, Maha Bandha, Hasta Bandha, and Pada Bandha. And again, it is, we're directing that flow of energy back into the body so that it doesn't dissipate through our extremities. And we engage that physically by, again, Mula Bandha is lifting the pelvic floor. Uddiyana is your solar plexus getting up underneath your rib cage, up into your abdominals, into your abdominal muscles, up into those organs in the torso. Then you are coming up into your throat. That's your Jalandhara Bandha, and then all of it is your Maha Bandha. So remember, your throat chakra is the stinky cheese. And I have a picture of what you can kind of see. This little dude here, he's in Maha Bandha. He's got everything going on here. So those are the bandhas. And again, as always, if you have questions about any of those, if you're confused, that's okay. Just reach out. And when I meet you again, if, after we're watching this, we can discuss it. I'm happy to to discuss it and practice your kegels. I have hiccups. Practice your kegels and maybe practice your Uddiyana and your Jalandhara Bandha, and we can talk about them again at a later date. Remember, Mula Bandha, we want to try to keep activated during our entire practice. It's going to help us feel firm and engaged and solid in our physical postures and in our balance. Uddiyana, not to the severity of what that picture is, or making your belly suck in, but keeping your core engaged during postures also helps to protect your back, because your lower back, your lumbar takes a beating a lot. We kind of dump a lot of weight into our lower back, so keeping our core engaged helps with that, to help keep the lower back nice and safe. But you're always toning your abdominals by keeping everything engaged, and like I said before, it helps with strong core, helps with balance and ease of movement. And that Uddiyana, the Uddiyana Bandha is going to help when we talk a little bit later about some of the more complex postures, the inversions, lifting your legs up over your head. So I will see you all again very soon.